Hey everyone, Aldreama Harper here, business organizing strategist and declutter coach to solopreneurs, freelancers, and service providers. So, welcome to the Organizedpreneur podcast. I'm super excited that you are here and you're continuing to listen to these podcast episodes. Um, in today's episode, though, we're going to continue with our POP series, Podcasting on Purpose. And we're continuing to lay some foundation as it relates to your podcast, right? And so, in the previous episode, we've been talking about, well, not just in the previous episode, in several, the first, well, let's say the previous 6 episodes, we've been covering more about how to launch your podcast and things like, the equipment that you might need, just things to consider as it relates to marketing and things like that. And I want to continue in this series because we're going to be talking a little bit more about your podcast. But I want us to lean into streamlining your podcast operations. So, as you all know, and when I introduce myself, I'm telling you I am an organizing strategist and declutter coach. And so, part of that is teaching my community to declutter and get organized and streamline their business operations. And so that includes your podcast operations. And so we're continuing with the podcast series, but now we're going to be talking a little bit more about your operations and how to streamline that. So the importance, the significance in that is that um, this part of the series is really designed for you to optimize your processes and so that you will have smooth, efficient workflows and so that you're not overwhelmed with with doing your podcast. And so, because one of the things that I am well aware of is that when it comes to podcasting, there are a lot of moving parts and there are a lot of things that you need to do as far as, behind the scenes or back office operations and things like that. So that's what this um, next few episodes are going to be about. Okay, so and this is whether or not you are just starting your podcast or if you're looking to enhance your existing podcast, maybe you're already started and you're just trying to figure out a way to make sure that you're staying consistent and not bogged down with all of the ebbs and flows and things in the back office and elements and components and all those type of things as it relates to your back office of your podcast because you have enough to do when it comes to organizing your business. And so that's what this is all about. So, what I want to talk to you about today is laying a foundation. We're going to be kind of, diving into some strategies to streamline your operations so that you can produce high quality content consistently. When you have systems in place, when you have things in place that allow you to free up your mind so that you are creative and you have a nice creative flow and not again bogged down with some of the operational pieces of it. um, that's what this next few episodes are about. So again, planning planning your podcast is a crucial part of the process. And so that's what we're talking about in step one. So this is step one. We're going to be talking about several steps in the process. Okay. So what I want to share with you before I even get to the first step is that when I am coaching clients, particularly in their business, planning is essential. Okay, it sets the stage for your business, it sets the stage for your podcast, as we're going to be talking about. Planning is essential. So for me and my clients, I always share my 4-step signature framework. And so let me share that with you now, and then we'll get into the rest of the episode. Okay. So the first step, so there are 4 steps. It's a 4-step signature framework. Number one is organize. This is the foundational step. This is the step where we lay the groundwork, the infrastructure for success. Number two is optimize. This is all about effectiveness. This is about making the best or the most effective use of a situation, an asset, or resource. Number three is systemize, having systems in place. This ensures consistent and scalable operations. And then the last step is monetize. And this is the time when you turn your passion and hard work into something sustainable and profitable. So the 4 steps again are organize, optimize, systemize, and then monetize. Okay? So let's just get into this smooth operating machine called podcasting. Let's streamline your podcast operations, okay? So let's just imagine, you have this awesome podcast, in your head, right? Maybe you haven't started yet. And so the first thing, one of the things that we've talked about before is you want to have, or you want to make sure that you have pinpointed or nail down your podcast niche. Okay. But here's the thing, you don't want to just do a podcast just because you want to do a podcast, right? We talked about that. But we want you to determine what is your passion. And it doesn't matter what you're talking about, but what is your passion? What is your vision for where you want to go in your podcast? Where do you want your podcast to be a year from now? Is the goal of your podcast to inspire, educate, or entertain? And so when you're in the planning stages of your podcast, you need to have clear goals that gives your podcast a sense of direction and keeps you on track. Okay? So the planning part of it is essential. I remember when I first launched my podcast. This was years ago. I've shared this already, but this was before podcasts were as big of a deal as it is now. I really did not have a clear cut goal or objective for my podcast. I just wanted to start recording. So even though I knew what my topic was, I knew what my passion was, I didn't really have a strategy. I didn't really plan it out. It was whatever came in my head about that particular topic, which was, of course, organizing and decluttering and streamlining, the same topic and the same area and genre as it relates to productivity and your business. I've been in that genre for ever since I've been doing podcasts, but I didn't have a strategy in terms of what what was going to be what was my podcast going to look like a year from when I first started. So when I got off track, I didn't even realize I was off track because I was just talking about my passion. And so the thing that you want to do is you want to make sure that a year from now, 5 years from now, that you have planned your goals and your objectives for your podcast. And whether it is to stay in that genre or whether it is to plan other types of podcasts, whether it's an interview series or whether you're going to change seasons or, whatever that is, you want your audience to go on a journey with you, okay? Because you don't want to take them, um, you want to take them on the journey with you. And so they need to, you need to have some direction. It's like getting in a car with somebody, right? And you don't know where they're going, and you don't know where you're going. You're just going, right? But so you want to be absolutely cognizant of your audience and the people that's listening, and letting them know that this is a, this is a journey. And you do that by, number one, you understand who they are, what they like, what keeps them up at night, things like that, so that you tailor your content to hit all the right spots. That's your secret sauce. Okay. And so planning your podcast and sitting down and saying, okay, this is what I'm going to be talking about. This is, my next 5 episodes, that I have in a pipeline or what have you. This is the journey that I want to take my listeners through. And because you're keeping them in mind. One of the things that I decided to do recently was to ask people to, and you as a listener, I'm asking you, I want to ask people, I'm asking people rather, to submit their about the topic of productivity and organizing, time management, decluttering, so that I can keep up with what they want. Your audience is important. And so having uh, that clear objective in mind in terms of where you want to go and planning that out is absolutely essential. Don't do what I did. Like I had no direction. Okay. So having a consistent format for your episodes, whether it's interviews or storytelling or even a mixture of all of it. But it just creates a sense of familiarity, can't get that word right, that keeps the listeners coming back. And that's what you want. You want them to keep coming back for more, right? And so planning is like laying the foundation of your house, okay? It may not be glamorous, but it's the secret sauce to a fantastic podcasting journey. So, hopefully, this is helpful for you in understanding how important it is to plan your podcast, how important it is to have vision about where you want to go, and taking your listeners on a journey with you and paying attention to what your listeners want and planning that out, right? So if you're listening to this podcast and any of this resonates with you, or you feel overwhelmed and you need a little bit of guidance, I'm going to post or put some links in the show notes on how you can connect with me if there's anything, any help that you need, any help or guidance that you need. I'm going to put some links in the show notes so that you can connect with me a little bit further. And some of those links would be how to uh, uh, grab your, for example, how to grab your free podcasting guide if you don't already have it. There's going to be a link in the show notes for that. And as we're continuing to talk about streamlining your podcast, I'm also adding a link for a completely complimentary systems audit. Okay, that's going to help you to identify gaps in your business, in your podcast. And so check out those links, and I would love to hear from you. And if you have questions about anything that we've shared, that we've talked about here on the podcast, let me know. If you have questions, submit a question to me. I would love to answer any of those questions. So that's it for now. I'll see you on the next episode. And yeah, where we're going to be talking about pre production efficiency. So stay tuned for that. See you on the next episode. Have a great day.